Pokémon has come to the Nintendo Switch with Sword and Shield. These games are gargantuan beasts with a lot of weird and inexplicable systems outside of Poké battling. Like, remember Pokéblocks? Well, this game has some oddball stuff too, like pitching a tent and cooking curry. And there's just a whole lot of things that either aren't explained or intentionally left for you to figure out. That's why today we're talking about 10 things that Pokémon Sword and Shield doesn't tell you. Now, as a quick disclaimer, I'm battling a bit of a hefty cold. People have been very nice about it, and I appreciate it a lot. But bear with me on this. My voice has been kind of wrecked for a few days. So at number 10, let's start off with an easy one. Literally, best starters. Now, obviously, you're free to pick whatever starter you want, and you'll do just fine. This is a Pokemon game. It's not that hard. But depending on which Pokemon you pick, your rival will always pick the starter that's weak to yours, while the champion, Leon, will always pick the Pokemon that's strong to yours. So that part at least is set in stone. You know, like Brock from Pokemon Red and Blue. Everyone's got a story about taking Brock on with only a Charmander, fire attacks hopelessly bouncing off his rock-type Pokemon, and this game actually is different. The first gym leader you take on, they use grass-type, so you might have a little trouble if you exclusively use Solid. Just talking about this specific matchup, Scorbunny is the best starter pick, but you'll find plenty of flying-type Pokemon on the route to the first gym, so it's not too hard to find something that's effective against these guys while you're out.
Julian!
You'll pop up and just say, definitive best Pokemon ever in these kinds of things, so just pick up what you want, but I will say that if you want an easy beat of the first gym and you don't want to catch any more Pokemon and you're in a real big hurry, then probably pick Scorbunny. Bunny's alright anyway. Moving on to number 9, a major addition to this game is the Wilds area. It's kind of an open world section of the map that spans most of the Galar region. It's connected to multiple towns and it has a wide variety of Pokemon in the environment. Easy ones mixed up with high level ones. That'd be kind of a pain to deal with, but did you notice Pokemon show up in the world now? A mechanic borrowed from Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, so it's actually pretty easy to avoid the tough guys when they first show up in the wilds. There's a changing weather system as well, which can actually cause status effects on your Pokemon. Also, different Pokemon will show up in different weather, like this Weevil only appears in the rain. Outside of just being a big area with a lot of Pokemon to catch in it, it's also an area where you can find these max raid battles, where you fight tough boss versions of Pokemon that you can potentially capture. There's also a lot of stuff to do in the Wilds area, and I imagine most of the post-game content's probably going to be there. Moving on to number 8, here's a new mechanic in Pokemon Sword and Shield. It's called Aura. Like, if you've seen a Pokemon with what looks like a yellow or gold glow around it, that is a brilliant aura. It basically indicates that they're a particularly good version of a standard Pokemon, meaning it's going to have at least 3 max IVs, that's individual values, aka the hidden numbers that determine stat growth, and they'll start out with a special move that you can only get from breeding normally. So basically, they're better, but they're rare. Thankfully, there's actually a way to get them to show up more, and that is catching Pokemon. In fact, the more Pokemon you catch, the more likely a brilliant aura Pokemon will show up in the wild. Now, if you want to find these guys, you just got to keep your eyes open. It can be a little tricky to see the aura around them, but just look closely and eventually you'll start to see it. Brilliant aura Pokemon are something that you definitely want, so if you see one, do what you can to catch it. It is a valuable addition to your roster, period. And at number 7, while we're talking about rare Pokemon, let's talk about shiny Pokemon. There's basically no way not to talk about the shiniest Pokemon video. The term obviously goes back quite a ways in the fan community, but first officially got used in black and white in 2012. These are alternate color variants on standard Pokemon and are even rarer than brilliant aura ones.
When will Appa be here, Oma? When Appa's here, we need to put on gloves.
Difference between these two is that shiny Pokemon aren't significantly better than your standard Pokemon. They just look different, sometimes surprisingly different. These guys are really only interesting mainly for hardcore collectors, but Sword and Shield has somewhat changed the method of catching them. You get a chance at increased odds of catching one by both the amount of Pokemon of that specific species you've already caught and the combos you have on them, i.e. the amount of times you fought them in a row. This doesn't have to be in the same battle, but running into and fighting the same type of Pokemon over and over and catching them a lot can greatly increase your chances of getting a shiny. Also, of course, having the shiny charm, which you get from catching every single Pokemon in the game, but you're not going to do that quick. It's just that simple. That is not a fast thing.
I am going to
So yeah,
win.
shinies are mainly for hardcore completionists, and it's definitely one of the big things the game doesn't actually explain, but we got your back. And at number 6, here's a nice feature in the game.
Well, I'm not done
Every
yet.
Poke Center now has a move reminder inside, meaning you can talk to them and relearn any move your Pokemon forgot. Either the one you swapped out with a different skill that maybe isn't as good as it looked, or ones you just discarded after getting it from leveling up. Like, Pokemon games have a lot of moves, and it's nice to know that you don't have to worry about one being gone forever if you swap it out for something that sounded cool, but actually ended up being kind of useless. It encourages experimentation, and that's great. And what's especially nice is that in this game, you don't have to pay to do it. It's completely free. And no, I'm actually not talking about microtransactions, but actual in-world transactions. But still, you can screw around with your Pokemon's move list to your heart's content, and it doesn't actually hurt you in any way. Like I said, I think it'll really help people try more new things in this game. And that makes me happy because often you feel like you're kind of stuck with certain things because they work, and you're liable to take less risks. This game totally mitigates that. Moving on to number 5, let's talk about the differences between each version of the game. The big one is the usual one, of course. Each game has a unique legendary that you'll be able to capture in the post-game. Zacian in Pokemon Sword and Zamazenta in Pokemon Shield. Each version also has a unique gym leader, which is new for the series, these being the fighting type gym leader Bay in Pokemon Sword and the ghost type gym leader Alistair in Pokemon Shield. There's also the prerequisite version exclusive Pokemon. If you want to know who's in what game, well, thank you to SarahB.net for compiling this list, but here's which ones are exclusive to Sword. And here are the ones that are exclusive to Shield. Honestly, there's a lot of good Pokemon in both categories, but if you see something you really like, just know that these are the exclusive ones, so go with the version you prefer. And at number 4, another Pokemon game, another weird set of methods to evolve your Pokemon. Some of the weirder ones involve getting an apple to this apple Pokemon, or getting 3 criticals in one battle to evolve Farfetch'd, who by the way is very aptly named, as if you didn't actually look into it, that's basically the only way you would know, is if you got 3 criticals in a battle. Probably the strangest of all of them is Milcery, who evolves when you give them a specific item, then spin in place. On top of that, depending on what time of day and for how long you spin, they will evolve into a different form. Yeah. Oh yeah, and this one is Yamask. How do you evolve him? Well, he has to take at least 49 hit points of damage and not be knocked out. Then you have to walk under a specific stone arch in the Dusty Bowl area. So yeah, there's some weird evolutions to this game that I have no idea how anyone would figure out on their own. Moving on to number 3, in the Wilds area you can find these 2 guys called the Digging Duo in Bridgefield near the daycare center. And these guys will, well, dig for you in exchange for the special currency you find in the wilds called Watts. They want 500 watts to do some digging, and each one is capable of finding specific items. The one closer to the daycare center is the stamina one. He'll dig more but find less rare items, while the other one is more about rewards. He won't dig out as many items, but he'll find rare stuff. Want to know what you'll find? Well, here's the list, again, courtesy of SarahB.net. This one's for the stamina guy. And this one's for the reward guy. Most of these are items for evolving Pokemon or stuff that can be held by Pokemon to improve their stats. There's even one item, the Wishing Stone, which you can use to summon a max raid battle. So yeah, there is some pretty good stuff in there if you're willing to spend the watts. And at number 2, most people are probably aware at this point that in Pokemon Sword and Shield, the National Pokédex is out. You can't transfer every Pokemon from every previous game into this one. But strangely, there are some Pokemon that are still transfer only, as in they do not appear in this game in any way, but can be transferred using stuff like Pokemon Home, or given out during giveaways that Game Freak occasionally does. So yeah, this is confusing, but there are Pokemon that aren't in this game at all, but still haven't been cut from the Pokedex, and therefore can be transferred over. It's a relatively small list. Here they are. Again, this is thanks to SarahB.net for putting this together.
So be outside, like, okay, come on, John. Okay, hello, how may I help
And at number 1, here's the big feature of the game. Dynamax, which is basically replacing the Mega Evolution from previous games. When a Pokemon Dynamaxes, they get huge. Their stats multiply and they gain particularly strong attacks. There's also Gigantamax Pokemon, which are unique-looking variants on standard Dynamax Pokemon, and also have unique moves exclusive to that Pokemon. This is kind of the confusing part. Like, there's the Gigantamax Meowth right there. You don't get this unique giant form just by catching a Meowth. You have to get that specific Meowth with its variant Gigantamax form from either a giveaway or a max raid battle. If they ever do that, which right now they haven't, and the only way you can get the Gigantamax variant Meowth is from an early adopter giveaway. So if you see a Pokemon that looks unique and Dynamaxed, that doesn't necessarily mean you can just go and catch that one and get its Gigantamax form. You have to either catch it in a max raid battle in the wild area or get it through some event. Like I said, it's kind of confusing, and I've said whatever max way too many times, but I just want to do at least try to clarify how this whole thing works. Gigantamax isn't just what some Pokemon turn into. It's a specific variant on Pokemon, like having a bright aura or being shiny. They're hard to get, but for this guy, it's probably worth it. What's your experience in Pokemon Sword and Shield so far? Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. And if you like this video, please click like. If you're not subscribed, now